Tell you some of the biggest things I wish I knew before getting started. My first marathon, Ironman, and a whole host of endurance races. And give you my top 3 tips on how you can make your first ultra endurance event even better. Be careful because in this video I'm going to share some embarrassing stories. It should be quite fun. When most people think about endurance events, such as Ironman, marathon, they are super serious. They are extreme events and most people do respect them. And in fact, it only became apparent last year that one of the most sought after things on your CV, on your resume, was that you've done an ultra or endurance event because it showed that hardcore dedication. One of the first things that I wish I was told at the beginning is to lower my expectations. Remove them completely. You don't need to be setting record-breaking times. There's no one you need to impress. This is all about just building experience. One of my biggest mistakes actually was doing an Ironman in general. I was at a weird place in my life where I thought, I'm a personal trainer, and unless I'm doing these kinds of races, then people are going to think less of me as a trainer and not trust me as much. Something that I completely forgot is that I hate cycling. I think it's a miserable thing. I don't enjoy it, and the worst part is, it's the longest part of the event.
You made a serious mistake.
Had I known beforehand that I'd remove these expectations and just thought about what will I enjoy doing, what activities, what disciplines do I enjoy the most. One of the other things I wish I was told was that this is a huge time commitment, not just in training, in making sure you are resting, in recovery, in getting the massages, in investing time into understanding what it is you need to do, planning, being more prepared, all of these little things. Distances to certain locations. If you're living in England and your event is in Spain and you're going to be in the heat of the Spanish weather, you want to try and get as much experience around hot climates so you are more prepared for those moments. And the other big thing, the expense can be quite a lot. You can be paying out quite a bit of money in terms of the extra nutrition, in terms of the gym memberships, getting to the races, the overnight stays, the massages, all of these little costs that you don't normally think about. These are things that have to be taken into consideration. With that comes the other caveat, is that you have to prioritize it. You have to learn how to make and manage your time. Even though you may be a year in advance, that time goes so quick. Probably one of the best things that I can advise you to do is to find yourself a group that you can get involved in, keep each other motivated as you go through your training. Whenever these sorts of events are sold to you, you just see crowds of people cheering left and right, people calling out your name, and it's a really beautiful thing. However, that's probably less than 10% of what you actually experience during the event. It is hours and hours of you just being on your own, left alone with your own thought, and it is an individual experience, and that's something you have to be prepared for. Yes, there'll be the occasional people who cheer you on, but majority of it is you are on your own. I've seen a lot of people mentally defeat themselves from that. One of the other things is as well is, I can't stress this enough, try and find out what the conditions are going to be like on the day that you're racing. On my first half Ironman event, the water temperature was 9 degrees. A couple of weeks before, I went into the Thames and swam around the Docklands to start getting ready and to test that kind of cold water, just so my body can adapt. When that gun went off and we all had to dive into the water and start swimming, people left and right were being pulled out of the water. They were in shock. Some people went into a hypothermic state. They just weren't prepared for that amount of cold water. And within minutes, I couldn't feel my hands, couldn't feel my feet. And one of the hardest things I ever experienced was getting out of that wetsuit and getting changed into my cycling gear. My hands wouldn't move. They were frozen. I was with all the will in the world, I could not get them to move, and it was the most painful experience. My mum, who was in the crowd watching me, had to help me put my gloves on because I couldn't physically do it. The first part of that bike ride, I blacked out. I don't remember the first 6 miles of that bike ride. Just the overriding thought of, this is stupid, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous, I just want to go home. It took me the entire bike ride and halfway through the run of a 13-mile run, halfway through that run, before I felt my feet again. That's how cold it was. Know what conditions you're going to be going into and prepare yourself as best you can. And probably one of the biggest things that I think you should know is that no matter how well you prepare, no matter what you do, on the day, things will go wrong. But it's all about how you take that and move forward with it anyway. Imagine you've got a child, it's a child in your mind saying, oh my God, this is going on, this has all gone wrong, I don't know what to do. And you've kind of just got to self-soothe yourself, talk yourself off the ledge and calm yourself down. This happened on the marathon section of my Ironman. I was coming up to mile 16. The rain was awful and I was going across a metal bridge, slipped, twisted my knee, pulled my calf, and the moment it happened, oh my God, I knew I was in pain. And I managed to continue on for another 2 miles. And then the pain was just so much. I was gradually slowing down until then it got to a point where I was at a walk. And I was really frustrated because all I wanted to do was stop. It got to mile 25 and my watch went off. I had to run the next 1.2 miles in 6.5 minutes to do that section under 4 hours. Because of what I had just experienced, something inside me just awakened and I took off and I sprinted and I gave it everything. I was screaming. It got to that point where I was foaming at the mouth, as you can see in this photo. Everything inside me was telling me to stop. Everything was hurting. And I just said, no. I could see the finish in the end. And I just urged myself on. And I can't really explain what happened next because it was almost like I was inside my own head. I didn't really feel like I had anything left. And it was like there was a door in my mind. And when I opened that door, it was like I saw a different version of myself. A version of myself I'd never met before that took over. And I sprinted my heart out. And I ran that last 1.2 miles in 6 minutes and 10 seconds. And as soon as I crossed that finish line, I burst into tears, was just overwhelmed with everything I'd just gone through. When doing those sorts of things, you realize that only when you face those struggles, only when you face real challenge, that you meet the purest version of yourself. It's like your purpose is clear. You're about to do your first event. I'm really excited for you. I think it's going to be amazing. But I can't stress enough that although it's easy for me to think about, even now, the romantic side of it, in the moment, it is hard. It is grueling. And it takes time. It takes commitment. And these are things that I think you should be aware of. So what I'd like to do now is just go over my biggest tips for you to help you get through your next endurance race. Number 1, lubricate everything. Especially if you're on a bike, the pounding your ass takes is outrageous. Number 2, I would say practice in the conditions as much as possible. That means wear the same clothes, eat the same food, have the same routine, get into the same weather as much as you can, replicate as much of the course that you're going to be using as much as you can and include it into your training. It's only going to help you as it goes on. And the next thing is to be very grateful to your support system, whether it's friends, family, loved ones. They're going to be there throughout the entire thing, so always just show how grateful you are for them.
Oh, you won.
You've got this far and you want to enjoy a very embarrassing skill/story. It's not something I ever thought I would have to do, but I did. So if you're grossed out, please click off now. If you want to know this embarrassing story and tough skill, please keep watching. When you're doing an Ironman, you're going to be spending hours and hours on the bike. To then stop and go pee can cause your legs can seize up very, very quickly. It feels next to impossible to get going again, to get into that groove and rhythm. One of the things you can choose to learn how to do is to pee while cycling. So as you're going, you just let it go.
Just relax and let it go.
But I kid you not, it was one of the toughest skills I think I ever had to try and learn. However, you will learn more about yourself during these events than doing anything else. Most people think they can run a marathon, or the idea of running a marathon is very different than the reality of it. And so it's going to force you to experience different parts of yourself, and it's going to be challenging and wonderful all at the same time. I'd love to hear about your event. Please tell me in the comments below what your event's like, what you're most excited about, what you're most nervous nervous about, and I will see what advice I can offer. As always, please like and subscribe. New videos coming every week, and I look forward to seeing you next time.